2.0 just made their television debut yesterday, and no, I'm not talking Jeff Parker, Matt Lee, and Daniel Garcia. I'm talking NXT 2.0. I actually watched the show, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on the show and what I thought about the new colorful Nickelodeon-looking NXT, because I don't really know what this show is supposed to be. Speaking of NXT, Johnny Gargano's contract is set to expire in the coming months. We're going to talk about where I think he should go. We got Adam Cole and what his plans were if he were to stay. Bryan Danielson's plan if he were to stay in WWE and not go to AEW. We're talking about AEW beating Raw in the waitings and so much more here on this, the 65th edition of the Chill Spill Podcast. The S is silent, by the way. Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Tyler Mask, aka Suplex. That's SOOPLEX on TikTok, which you can go follow me on TikTok for my live reactions to NXT last night. Also, I'm going to be reacting to AEW Dynamite tonight, so be sure to go check that out. AKA Suplex with 2 X's and 2 O's on Twitch.tv. AKA Tyler-kun Williams, obviously. AKA the one who lived. And guys, welcome back to the 65th edition of the Chill Spill Podcast. And that is pill spelled with an S, but it's silent, much like I was during the wedding segment I saw NXT last night. And I was silent because I actually fell asleep during the segment. So, let's talk about it. NXT 2.0. I put up a poll on my community page, which I have not looked at in, I would say, the last, really since last night. Let me look at it now. I asked, what was the exact question I asked? Because it was kind of not in context. So I did ask, should I watch NXT? I asked, watch the new NXT this week. I kind of asked it in like a vague yet general sense. And I didn't say who is. I didn't say if it's you or me. I just said, watch the new NXT this week. 260 votes, which I think might have been the most votes I ever gotten on a poll, which is pretty cool. 43% said yes, 57% said nah. So, pretty close to 50-50. Looks like more than half of you, though, more or less, do not want to watch the new NXT. I leaned into the 43%. Now, part of the reason why I leaned into the 43% was because of what was because of, oh my lord, was because of what happened on Sunday leading into NXT. There was an announcement on Twitter by WWE NXT that William Regal is going to be stripping Samoa Joe of the NXT Championship due to an injury that Samoa Joe suffered. It didn't say when, it didn't say where. He suffered an injury and he cannot defend the NXT Championship. And he was stripped of it. And that this week on NXT, they will be crowning a new NXT champion. The men announced for the Fatal 4-Way that was set in place were LA Knight. Why am I forgetting the names already? Jesus Christ. I literally was just watching this show yesterday. Tommaso Ciampa, LA Knight, Pete Dunne, and Kyle O'Reilly. And if this were never announced, I probably would not have watched NXT at all. Like, I mean, I had a little bit of interest because it's a new type of NXT, but there was no incentive before that. So I'm like, okay, whatever. But I ended up checking it out, and here are my thoughts on the show. Overall, well, let me not say overall. Let me talk about the feel, the aesthetic. I don't like it. I don't like the white, bright, flashing paint everywhere. It reminds me of watching Nickelodeon. Like all the splashing colors. It reminds me of slime. I don't know what it is, but every time I look at NXT now, it reminds me of a kid's show. Even down to the graphics and how the replay looks, and not for me. You have grown-ass men and grown-ass women on the show to prevent it from looking like a kid's show, but outside of that, if you would have played Nick Jr. over top of this intro, I would have been fooled. Just saying. But you get into the actual show. The show starts off. The pyro goes off. You see the new arena setup. Instead of the old NXT setup, it's now like this almost like circular type crowd around the ring, which is different. I low-key kind of fuck with it. I low-key fuck with it. The stage is ugly. I'm not going to lie. The stage is ugly. It's like a big mesh of Trons. I could just say it as that much. It's a big mesh of Trons, it feels like. One thing I will give credit to is that when they're focusing on the stage, like during the entrances, if they pan out, which they did a few times during this show, you can actually see the stage, the person on the stage, and like a crop of people right in the background. Like, it's weird. I can't really describe it, but if you watch NXT, you know what I'm talking about. During the Imperium entrance, you could see Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner in the background, this big white light, and then on the corners of the screen, you could see like a few fans like leading into the entrance. I thought that was a cool visual. I don't think I've ever seen that visual before in professional wrestling, so that was a cool visual. I don't mind that. I just mind the stage. But all that aside, what did I think of the show as a whole? Well, this definitely felt like a very, 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 very different show. If you would have renamed this show, I would have never thought this was supposed to be the new NXT. It felt almost nothing like NXT. Firstly, the camera cuts. I could tell that WWE main roster influence is already all over this show. Kevin Dunn, whatever the hell his name is, he's on production. Because there were camera cuts like a motherfucker on this show, and it got the hell on my nerves real quickly. And I had to sit through and bear with it because I realized that I already got too deep into the show to give up on it. So I managed to only throw up 2 times. So I consider that an accomplishment, a win. But yeah, camera cuts a little bit too much for me. They were having a lot of replays. I feel like I'm just complaining right now, but I don't have too much positive to say. Then we get into the matches. Now, I've grew up in the what fans are calling now the work rate era of NXT. I say that with a sigh, work rate era. But from 2014 to really 2020, I grew into this era of NXT where I would say about at least 1 or 2 wrestling matches on the show went about 10 minutes and were at least good or above. There were some weeks where the wrestling was not great. There were some some weeks where wrestling was great. But for the most part, there was at least 1 or 2 matches on the show that made it worth your while. This week, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matches on the show. On a 2-hour show. Now, at face value, that doesn't sound too bad. But considering commercial breaks and promos, then you look at how long these matches went. 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 7 minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes. Like, just these short matches, they felt like nothing matches. And yes, they did introduce a lot of new stars. Braun Breaker, they introduced Brooks Jensen, Josh Briggs, who I guess is not really new since he was in the NXT Breakout Tournament. B-Fabs I guess that's not really a new unit either. That's been there before. Mind you, I haven't watched NXT in several months, so a lot of these people may not be new, and I might think they're new, so correct me if I'm wrong. But they had a good few amount of new people on the show. So they are trying to incorporate, a new breed into NXT. And that's fine. I get that. I felt like they could have took some time to, give some more people time. Maybe take 2 matches away and give the opening match like 6 minutes instead of 4. Give them some extra moves to do, because I felt like we didn't really get a good introduction to a lot of these people. Yes, they got a chance to wrestle. Yes, we know their names, but it was not really a great showcase because they didn't have enough time to really do anything. At least that's how I feel about it. If I could say one match that I really liked, it was probably the main event, which wasn't really the main event, but the last match on the show, which was the Fatal 4-Way for the NXT Championship, which only went 10 minutes, which is actually kind of disappointing considering that a year ago, when they decided the vacant NXT champion, they had a 60-minute long Fatal 4-Way match to determine the NXT champion. Now, mind you, that match wasn't great, but this match, I felt like it was too short to be an NXT championship match. And also, bear in mind, one of the guys in this match, who was supposed to be in this match, was taken out of it. Kyle O'Reilly was attacked backstage by Pete Dunne, and I don't know who the other guy was, but attacked by Pete Dunne and somebody else, and was saved by a new guy. And I'm like, okay, that's a weird introduction to the new guy, but cool, that's fine. Now, mind you, this attack was during one of the women's matches. So after the women's match, you go backstage to William Regal, and William Regal's like, Kyle O'Reilly is in no form to compete tonight, and I'm like, Kyle O'Reilly literally got beat down. He didn't get put through a table. He didn't get smacked in the head with a chair. He didn't get ran over by a car. Like, it wasn't even that bad for Kyle O'Reilly to be pulled out of the match. So I thought that was stupid as hell. But then, to make this even more dumb, William Regal then says, we're going to replace Kyle O'Reilly. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not really dumb, but, I mean, how are you going to explain somebody replacing Kyle O'Reilly and warranting that championship match? I'm like, okay, maybe it's a former NXT, maybe it's like Johnny Gargano or something. This dude says, introducing the guy who saved Kyle O'Reilly, Von Wagner. A guy who I have never seen before, the crowd has never seen before, is officially inserted into an NXT championship match because he saved Kyle O'Reilly. Wow. So, for future reference to the NXT roster, if you ever want a championship opportunity, just make sure that whenever the NXT champion, whether it be man, women, tag team, if they're getting beat down, make sure you come out to save them so that way you get a championship match. Because that's apparently what warrants number one contenders matches these days, is just saving people. Absolute dog shit reasoning to incorporate this new guy. And I don't even hate this Von Wagner guy. I thought he was fairly good in the match. But it was a very bad way to incorporate him into this situation. The crowd, like, they obviously did not want him to win. It's not that they didn't like him, but you could tell when he was about to win and he had those hope spots, like, the crowd was not really into it, because it's like, why would you put the title on a guy we don't know? That was my fear, is that they're introducing this new guy and he's going to win. And I'm like, that would be incredibly stupid to put the championship on a guy that nobody knows. So it's like, at this point, your options are Pete Dunne, and yeah, Pete Dunne, because it's like, LA Knight's 38 years old, and they said, and I quote, they don't want guys starting in their 40s, so that's kind of backwards of them to strip Samoa Joe, but then put it on LA Knight. And Tommaso Ciampa, I mean, he's not old. I mean, he's like, what, 35, 36? 2 years behind LA Knight. But he's been champion already, so it's like, that's not really anything new. You're talking about this new brand, new this, new that. What's new about Tommaso Ciampa being champion? Don't get me fucked up. I love Tommaso Ciampa, but that's not really new. So your options were Pete Dunne, because you're not putting a championship on somebody the fans don't know. So I'm thinking, okay, Pete Dunne, reportedly, he re-signed a contract with WWE. He's locked in for 3 more years. Good for him. I didn't actually expect him to go AEW, so I'm not really upset about it. But no, Tommaso Ciampa comes in, hits his fairy tale ending onto LA Knight and gets the pin to become the new NXT champion. This did not make me mad. I was not disappointed that Tommaso Ciampa is the new champion. I was just asking, like, why? Like, why Tommaso Ciampa to replace him? Like, what storyline do they have in place to explain why Tommaso Ciampa is the NXT champion? Like, you're trying to get into this new direction, and I'm sure they're still going to do takeovers and whatnot. So who is next in line for Ciampa, right? That's my question. Is it Von Wagner? Is he next in line? Is he going to be the new main event star on this brand? Because if so, he's going to have to do more than just, save people to be that. Pete Dunne, I guess, is going to be in the fray some way, but he's not the NXT champion. LA Knight, I don't know what the hell happened to LA Knight. I was confused as hell in the very beginning of the show, because I was under the impression that he was going to be involved in the Fatal 4-Way match. But then, at the very beginning of the show, he gets cut off by this guy named Braun Breaker. I think he's the son of Rick Steiner. So that's cool. And next thing you know, opening match of the show is LA Knight versus Braun Breaker. And I'm like, this has got to be the dumbest guy alive. Why are you agreeing to a singles match before your actual championship match? Like, that didn't make any sense. I thought for a second that maybe this match, Braun Breaker wins, he replaces LA Knight, but no. LA Knight loses, then he goes on to the main event And then he gets pinned again. So I don't know what they're doing with LA Knight. You know, maybe they saw his age and are like, all right, time to fizzle you out. Maybe that's it. I don't know. This is a very, very weird show. The actual ending of NXT 2.0 was the wedding segment of Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis, which once again I fell asleep through. I'm sorry. It's not even that it was boring. I was tired, but at the same time, I already didn't like the NXT show, so the wedding was just the topping of me not caring at all. How do I feel in a nutshell? This ain't for me. This show is not for me. It has main roster all over it, from the short matches to the backstage segments. And I'm not going to sit here and say that every promo felt like a Raw or a SmackDown promo that I've seen before, because I will say this much. Though it did feel like a Vince McMahon produced show, the promos did give the essence of old NXT, so that much is good. But even down to the match quality felt like something I would see on the main roster. Like, the work rate is just minimalized. I guess my NXT is dead. I guess I should just lay it to rest and mourn it while I can. I think those days of me trying to get back into NXT, I think those days are over. I wish the best for all the new guys debuting on the brand. I might keep an eye out for some of them, because there were a few that I were impressed by, looking forward to, especially the Carmelo Hayes manager. Was his name Trick Williams, the who I said basically is the incarnate of Michael B. Jordan. You know, he looks promising. Carmelo Hayes in general is promising. But other than that, I really don't care about anything else on the show. I'm sorry. This version of NXT is obviously not made for my type of crowd. It's made for the people who enjoy Raw and SmackDown despite the shit that gives them. This is basically a younger, newer version of like Monday Night Raw with a new talent. That's what I can chalk up this NXT as. Not for me. But listen, I was just talking about the current NXT champion, Tommaso Ciampa. He's obviously locked in. His former tag team partner, Johnny Gargano, seems not to be locked in, as reports have been going out now. Reported first by Fightful Select. Johnny Gargano's contract is set to expire December 3rd of this year. WWE sources told Fightful that Gargano and WWE have not yet entered negotiations to renew the new contract. So, hearing that, I know your mind goes to, AEW bound. I mean, maybe. I feel like Johnny Gargano is probably one of those guys who's a lifer. Like, I feel like when I think of lifers in NXT, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano are the first two I think of. I don't get the sense he's leaving. Then again, I could have said the same thing about many guys in WWE. Like Bryan Danielson. I said I didn't see Bryan leaving WWE. Here he is in AEW. He's going to be on AEW tonight, talking to Kenny Omega about next week, which I'm going to be at in attendance for Arthur Ashe Stadium. Can't wait. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I feel like the more I talk about these guys who may not leave, they end up leaving. Now, like I said, Johnny Gargano has been treated so well in NXT. I don't really see him possibly leaving. But then you got to think about the fact that Adam Cole was treated extremely well in NXT. And he left because he knew that there was never going to be anything on a brighter side when he went to Raw or SmackDown. And I'm going to say the same for Johnny Gargano. Though he accomplished a lot, unless they're sticking him in NXT for the rest of his life, which I feel like he may be a lifer in NXT, his career is dead if he goes to Raw or SmackDown. It might be even worse off for him than Adam Cole were to be if he goes to Raw or SmackDown. So if there is an extension from Vince McMahon to get called up, I think Johnny Gargano is gone. Johnny Gargano, I hope he's not that stupid and he's gone. I think if there is maybe a money increase and they promise him some better stuff, he'll stay in NXT though. What if Johnny Gargano were to leave WWE though? Let's just play fantasy here. Let's say Johnny Gargano does leave WWE. Where does he go? Obviously, Destination AEW sounds like the first place to go. I look at the roster right now with AEW. They have Adam Cole. They have Bryan Danielson now. They have CM Punk. They have Kenny Omega. They have Cody Rhodes and the Bucks and the Lucha Bros. They are so stockpiled with talent that I feel like they really don't need Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano would be an awesome acquisition to have. But I just don't get the sense that they're really in dire need of a Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano, in his prime, was excellent. I believe he was one of the best wrestlers in the world in 2017 and 2018. Johnny Gargano in 2021, not so much. Not so much. And I'm not saying that, Johnny Gargano can't come back, can't be revitalized if he were to go to a, AEW. But current day rendition of Johnny Gargano, I mean, I ain't begging for him to go AEW. I'm not even gonna hold you. I mean, if he don't go, I'm not disappointed. And if he were to go, I feel like he might get lost in the shuffle. I don't think they're gonna push him right away. He ain't gonna be going in there and beating Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship if he resigns. That ain't happening. He hasn't been NXT champion in what, 3 years? 2-3 years? Yeah, no, I think Johnny Gargano is probably staying in NXT. And if he goes to AEW, cool, but if he don't, I ain't crying about it. I think if this conversation were to be 2 years ago when AEW was first starting off, I would have been on the moon. I'd have been like, oh, hell yeah, Johnny Gargano, this rebel heart in AEW. But now I'm like, And if Tommaso Ciampa, if it were to reverse roles, and Johnny Gargano were the NXT champion and Tommaso Ciampa were on his way out, I would say the exact same thing. Where I believe that Tommaso Ciampa probably would not, I don't think AEW needs him right now. There's a lot of people that if they were to leave WWE, I don't think AEW needs them. They're in such a great place in terms of talent. AEW really doesn't need to sign anybody. I'll say it again. AEW does not need to sign any more people from WWE. The last person, the absolute last person that they really need to sign is Bray Wyatt. And I don't think they need to sign Bray Wyatt, honestly. But just to have his creative mind on their show, on their roster, in their company, is enough to say, let's throw some money at him, and then that's it. Cut off. No Adam Shear, no Braun Strowman, no this, no that, nobody else after Bray Wyatt. Maybe Buddy Matthews, because personal bias. But after Bray Wyatt, I think there should be a cutoff period for a while. I'm not saying never sign anybody from WWE ever again. I'm not saying that. But I'd say maybe cut off for at least the next 6 months. Wait until April. Wait until WrestleMania season. Then start bringing in some more people. But 6 months, no more recruits. Because you're already at 100 men. And you don't need any more. But one person who has recently signed with WWE is a 2021 Olympic gold medalist, an NCAA current wrestling champion, Gable Steveson. I believe just about a month ago, his brother actually signed with the company. Now he's officially signed. As WWE announced on our Twitter page last Thursday, that WWE has signed Olympic gold medalist and reigning NCAA wrestling champion Gable Steveson to an exclusive deal. In agreement with in the company's first ever NIL deal, which I don't know what that stands for, I'll be honest. Stevenson will join the WWE roster while defending his NCAA title for the University of Minnesota. That's pretty dope that he signed to WWE, but he gets to finish out university and still defend an NCAA title. That tells you how much they really wanted him. That tells you how much they really wanted him. That they were willing to work out a deal where he could finish college and still defend the NCAA championship. Because in any other situation, they would have told you to drop your bags and come to us. But they're working with him. They realize his value. This is the real deal. He's an Olympic gold medalist of the current year. This is basically, I would say just as big as them signing Kurt Angle back in 1996. Well, they signed him in 97, I think. 97. Gable Steveson, I have never seen him wrestle amateur, but if he is an Olympic gold medalist, obviously he's the best of the best. He's the best of the best. He's going up in here. I think if he has the charisma, he's going to be the top star in a company within the next 3 years. All he needs is great promo ability, and he is going to be an absolute megastar for WWE in the next 2 to 3 years. Maybe even the next year, because apparently there's reports going out right now that they're talking about doing a Gable Steveson versus Brock Lesnar match at WrestleMania as a passing of the torch. Now, right now, that's just a rumor. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. I don't think it's actually going to happen. It could possibly. They're also rumoring 2 nights of WrestleMania. They could use Brock Lesnar on one night, and Gable Steveson might be that person to do him up against. But I don't know. Gable Steveson, he's my age, right? What is he, like 23, 24? Hold on. Oh, I need a new mouse. Jesus Christ. Gable Steveson. Yeah, man's is 12. Oh, he's younger than me. He's 21 years old. This man's ridiculously young. So yeah, he ain't going to NXT. He's going right to the main roster. If he don't have charisma, guess what? Pair him off with a manager. Pair him off with Paul Heyman. Pair him off with anybody who could speak for him. That is a guy right there that they're going to invest in. I can call it right now. Just because of the name value he has outside of professional wrestling. They're going to market this guy like a beast. I'll keep my eye on him. Adam Cole. He was originally going to be staying in WWE, it seemed like, but then he decided against them once they said no more Twitch. And now reports are going out that during his meeting with Vince McMahon, he had a story pitched to him. And that story was that he would go to Raw, which immediately I would have left the office because my career would have been done. But he stayed to hear him out. And I'm just kidding. I'm paraphrasing here. He heard them out. And basically the story would be that he would go to Raw as a heel manager for Keith Lee. Adam Cole, former NXT champion, former leader of the Undisputed Era, main evented many NXT shows, main evented several NXT takeovers, one of the best wrestlers NXT has ever seen, was going to go to Raw as a manager, which means that likely he was not going to wrestle. As a manager for Keith Lee. Keith Lee, somebody who doesn't need a manager. He has the charisma. He doesn't need anybody to speak for him. He was going to manage him. Also, didn't Keith Lee beat Adam Cole to become the NXT North American NXT Championship? How would you make that make sense? How would you make that make sense? I don't even know. But let's get back to that. So they were going to position Adam Cole in the same role they positioned Lio Rush 4 years ago. If you remember, Lio Rush, when he got called up to Monday Night Raw, he was managing Bobby Lashley for about a year and a half. I distinctly remember Lashley. He was the annoying heel manager for Bobby Lashley, and I'll be honest, I wasn't keen on it. I don't know if many other people were keen on it. I don't really know if that really did much for... Actually, I'll be honest, it didn't do anything for Bobby Lashley. Look at where he is now, being managed by MVP. So you think that Adam Cole was going to be much better? Or even better, Drake Maverick. When Drake Maverick got caught up to the main roster, he managed AOP. And that didn't make a lick of sense. He didn't even fit in with the group. But he managed them, and he was their embarrassing lackey manager. And now you're going to put Adam Cole in that role. Yeah, it was never going to work. It was never going to work. They were going to minimize his stature by being a manager. And his talents would have never saw the light of day. And if they did, he would have been embarrassed. They would have had Adam Cole likely in there getting dragged out and thrown around by bigger guys. And jobbed out likely. So I think he made the right call leaving. I would have left too. But then another guy who signed with AEW, Bryan Danielson, originally Daniel Bryan of WWE, was also in negotiations with Vince McMahon. And during these negotiations, Vince McMahon apparently gave Daniel Bryan permission to work the G1 Climax if he were to resign with WWE. Which is cool because I would have never thought that. I would have never thought that Vince McMahon would even allow his talent to work anywhere else. But he was going to allow him to go all the way to Japan and work those dates in the G1 Climax, which I feel like Vince probably didn't realize how long he would be stuck, because the G1 Climax is a month and a half long tournament. I feel like Vince probably didn't know exactly how long the tournament would be. And on top of that, do you think Vince McMahon would be comfortable with having his talent lose? You don't think Dan Bryan's going to go into the G1 Climax undefeated, would you? No, not a chance. Dan Bryan would lose to somebody. that WWE marked wrestler is going to lose to somebody of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I guarantee you WWE would not like it one bit. They'd probably try to protect him and be like, he can lose only by DQ or countout, which would have been nullified and would have made him look stupid. So I'm glad that Daniel Bryan said, that sounds good and all, but I want to wrestle. So Daniel Bryan took his ball and he went to AEW, and I'm glad. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for it in general. AEW last week was a good show. I enjoyed it a lot. One thing I did not enjoy on that show was one of the most scarring, traumatizing things I've seen in professional wrestling in possibly all my years of watching. And it is now being called the Suzuki incident. Last week on AEW Dynamite, we saw the tragic incident where Minoru Suzuki came out to the ring to face Jon Moxley in the main event of the show. And 20 seconds into his theme song, he gets cut off. Theme song interrupted. Entrance interrupted. He wasn't even halfway up the fucking ramp before they cut his theme song off. And they start playing Wild Things, and out comes Jon Moxley. And it scarred a lot of fans out there. Some fans have still not forgiven AEW yet, as they should. And this led to a lot of fans angry tweeting AEW. I mean, I put out a TikTok about it. It got over 100,000 views, which is pretty cool. But fans were not happy about it. They let it be known they did not like the fact that Kazi Ninare was cut off. But this is the funny thing. So fans decided to meme it. So one fan took it upon himself to put out a tweet basically calling this whole, because before it was called the Suzuki incident, fans were just saying it was a shit thing for AEW to do. But then one fan, I believe his name is NJPW Fan NA, he put out a tweet basically saying that it's not a big deal, and the Suzuki incident is what he called it. It's the Suzuki incident. And this led to a mass exodus of fans tweeting out impersonations of wrestlers reacting to the Suzuki incident, basically in the same manner that wrestlers would basically do the interviews on Dark Side of the Ring. It was the funniest thing. You guys can go look at them. I made a video on my channel called Darker Side of the Ring, the Suzuki incident. Go watch that video for some of the Twitter reactions. It was literally hilarious. AEW has made this canon. In a tweet they put out yesterday, it says, before Moxley and Kingston answer for the Suzuki incident, on God, on everything, it literally says the Suzuki incident, what Suzuki-gun, Lance Archer perceived as disrespect last week to the legend Suzuki, tomorrow night, Mox and Eddie will try to settle the score for last month's Savage Attack by 2.0 live on AEW Dynamite. So basically, we're going to be getting 2.0 versus Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston this week, which I feel like we've been getting for the last month. So I feel like this should be the last match they have for a while. I cannot believe that this meme got so big that AEW not only acknowledged it, but they even made it canon, because now it's being referenced by AEW wrestlers, by AEW's Twitter account, and I'm 100% certain they're going to reference it on AEW Dynamite tonight. All I'm saying is that the guy who actually made the tweet, that started this whole thing, he better trademark that shit real fast. Trademark, I guess he can't because Suzuki's already trademarked. But he better trademark that, he better claim that shit real quickly. Because he started this. He created the meme, and now nobody's crediting him. So if nobody else will credit him, I will. Let me go to Twitter right now and credit his name. I'll say his name since nobody else will. Since nobody else will, I'll say his name. I'll credit him. NJPW Fan Club NA with the original tweet. AEW gets a free pass because Tony Khan knows how to skate around the issue. The Suzuki incident in Cincinnati is now being worked around as a part of a story due to Khan and his staff being inept on operations. Most companies will release a statement. He gets praise. Well, I'm happy he made that tweet because we got some glorious content out of it. I'm so happy that this is a thing. Big E is our new WWE champion. He cast in successfully on Monday Night Raw last Monday. I say last Monday as if Monday didn't just pass. 2 days ago. And was successful. And I was on the moon. Everybody on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram was on the moon about it. 2 back-to-back black WWE champions. Very unbelievable, but it's happening and I love it. One would say that should pop a rating. They went up against NFL opening season. Maybe this would be the thing that puts Raw back on the map, back towards that 2 million number. But no. Not only did the number not go up, but it went down. It went down as low as 1.6 million. The lowest number Monday Night Raw has ever done. This would be the 3rd time this year that Monday Night Raw has done a record low number. The 3rd time this year that Monday Night Raw has done a record low number. That is so depressing. So depressing. It makes you think, what do they have to do? Put on better television is the first answer right now. But what exactly do they have to do to stop these ratings from falling? Now the NFL's back. People have less of an incentive to watch this show. And the numbers are not going to get any higher. They're going to get lower. It's going to keep falling. But one thing that's not falling is that AEW Dynamite number. Last Wednesday, they had their highest number since their debut episode on October 2nd, 2019. They did 1.3 million viewers. Their second highest number ever. Meanwhile, Raw is doing their lowest number ever. And to put this into perspective, at the very beginning, and for multiple months over, pretty much a year over, AEW Dynamite was beating NXT in the ratings on the same nights by 300,000 viewers or more. Now, we are talking about AEW Dynamite being 300,000 viewers underneath Monday Night Raw. I'll say this again. AEW Dynamite, the second biggest North American promotion in the world in terms of wrestling, is underneath the flagship show for WWE by 300,000 viewers. They are 300,000 viewers away from being neck and neck with Monday Night Raw in the total popular viewer rating. But let's talk about the demos. The demos is something I don't talk about on this show because honestly, I don't care deeply about the ratings. I just like seeing a number and seeing people freak out about it. But the demos are more important than popular viewers. This is pretty similar to the electoral votes versus the popular votes in terms of the presidency. Demos are what they care about. This week is a landmark week in professional wrestling because both AEW Dynamite and Monday Night Raw did a 0.52 rating, which would say that, they did the same number. But no. By 3,000 extra people, AEW managed to eclipse Monday Night Raw. By a landslide, AEW Dynamite beat Monday Night Raw in the 18 to 49 demos. The most important demos in all of television, they beat them out. They beat them out last week, and this week, compared to their last week numbers, they're 300,000 behind. Who's to say that this week's Dynamite doesn't do 1.3 again? Who's to say the next week they don't do 1.4? Possibly 1.5. Well, next week, Arthur Ashe Stadium, their biggest show ever, they better load that show the hell up. Bryan Danielson better be on the show. Adam Cole better be on the show. CM Punk should be wrestling on that show. They need to load, mind you, they need to load up because I'm going. But they need to load next week's show the hell up. Because if they are able to load that show up and get people invested in this show, they could possibly beat them in the demos again. And then, if Raw is shitty enough and AEW is great enough, they could get even closer to beating them. Because the day I'm waiting for, which it seems closer and closer as weeks go on, the day I'm waiting for is for AEW Dynamite to beat Monday Night Raw in both the demos and in the ratings. That way, I could say that AEW definitively beat WWE. That's all I'm waiting for. Not because I'm a big AEW stan, but because I just want to say it. I just want to be able to say it and just make some WWE fans out there really angry. That's all I want to say. But listen, this week AEW Dynamite is going to be live from New Jersey. They were supposed to be live from New Jersey last year for Blood and Guts, but that show got canceled due to COVID, and then on went to the COVID era of AEW. But now they have circled back to Newark, New Jersey, the Prudential Center. This is going to be their 6th biggest show. And on this card so far, we have Adam Cole going one-on-one with Frankie Kazarian. I believe that Adam Cole is probably going to win that match. It's his first match in AEW. Should be a good one. But Adam Cole should win. I think Adam Cole should definitely be wrestling next week. Who? I don't know, but he should definitely be wrestling next week. CM Punk is confirmed to be on commentary. And after last week's interaction between him and Team Taz, I would like to assume that next week we're getting CM Punk versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Or CM Punk versus somebody. I know CM Punk is not going to be wrestling every single week. I get that. But on big shows like Arthur Ashe Stadium, CM Punk should be wrestling. So I think this should build up. Maybe Powerhouse Hobbs attacks him. Or even better, Hook attacks CM Punk. And we get CM Punk versus Hook next week. That's what I'm looking forward to. We have Jade Cargill versus Layla Hirsch. That should be really good. Hopefully really good. Jade Cargill is still very green, but Layla Hirsch is a really good wrestler. I'm going to say Jade Cargill gets the win here. I don't know what they're doing with her. Seems like they were very high on her in the very beginning of the year. And then as the year went on, they just less and less used her. Went into the Battle Royal. She had an okay run, then got eliminated. And now she's just back to being somewhat featured, somewhat not. I don't know. After Chris Statlander, it seems like Ruby Soho is next in line for Britt Baker. I'm assuming that championship match is going to take place next week as well. If not, maybe Jade Cargill should be next in line to face Britt Baker at Full Gear. We have 2.0 versus Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston are going to win. Soon, 2.0 should be winning their matches. They lose every single week, but they're entertaining enough to the point where I don't feel like they really need to win every single week. But soon they should be winning matches. Like I said, this last month and a half, I feel like has been all 2.0 versus Moxie, Kingston, and Darby Allin in some iteration. So I think this should be the last match they have for a while and move 2.0 on to something else. Not dark. I want to see Matt Lee more. I want to see Jeff Parker more. I want to see Daniel Garcia more, but move them on to somebody else. Feud them with CM Punk. I don't know, but feud them with somebody else. Moxley and Eddie Kingston win this match. And then, of course, what I assume might be the main event of the show. It may be Adam Cole and Frank Kazarian. But Darby Allin versus Shawn Spears. I'm not super interested in this match because Shawn Spears is there. And they've given me little to no reason to care about Shawn Spears in the last year. But I got Darby Allin winning this one. And listen. It is a short episode of the Chill Spill podcast this week. Wasn't too much to get into. But hey, we got a lot of content coming up in the next few weeks. Arthur Ashe Stadium, I will be live for, in attendance for, next week. I'll be doing a vlog during that show. Also, I do have a ticket that's up for sale. So if anybody's interested, hit me up on Twitter. DM me. I'll give you the rates in the DMs if you're interested. But I will be live in attendance for Arthur Ashe Stadium next week. And one of the matches confirmed for that show so far is Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black. I sincerely hope that Malachi Black wins in some way. I don't care if he has to fucking kick Cody in the dick several times. I hope he wins. Do I think he will win? No. I think Cody Rhodes gets his win back. Just know that I will be live in attendance booing the shit out of Cody Rhodes. So if there is a long, withstanding boo in a crowd for Cody Rhodes, know that is me. Know that is me. And I am doing my job. And I hope you all join me to boo Cody Rhodes next week. But guys, that was Chill Spill Podcast episode 65. What do you guys think? Comment down below. Let your boy know. I love you as always, and I will see you all for episode 66 next Wednesday. Tune in to TikTok today for live reactions to AEW Dynamite. And peace out, guys.